Hey, Nerd Herd, Dynasty Nerds here, back again. This week, we're giving you our prediction of who will finish as a wide receiver 1 in the 2021 season. We got a lot of common names and some names we probably disagree about.
DK Metcalf?
He's pretty good. I mean, how could he not be a wide receiver 1? But we'll talk about it. Also, some preseason news. Where do we think about Jameis Winston, Marquez, Callaway, and the heartbreak of Travis Etienne? All jam-packed in this fabulous Dynasty Nerds episode.
And a little bit of Zach Wilson.
And we got an elf.
Ready, set, hut, hut. Welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast, where we discuss Dynasty strategy, rankings, and all things NFL. So get ready to geek out on fantasy football with your host, Rich Dotson.
And welcome to the Dynasty Nerds Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Rich Dotson, and my fellow nerd, Matt O'Hara.
Hey.
And no Pussyfoot Price. Instead, we're joined by Brownie the Elf.
Hello.
Hey, Brownie, looking way better than Garrett. Super cute. Speaking of Brownie Elf, we ordered just some custom Browns colored nerd shirts.
Ooh, I know. I saw you tweet that out.
Yeah. Check out my Twitter. Look how sexy these things are. They're absolutely fantastic. Whatever's left over, we'll sell them. So if you're a Browns fan, you're going to have to get in on this because they look absolutely amazing. And again, the most comfortable shirt you're ever going to wear in your life. I mean, we had people tweet, like Sam Wallace from RotoViz was out there today. Chris was tweeting about them. Like, dude, these are legit the most comfortable shirt. I mean, Sam Wallace did a video and he was like, I'm wearing my Dynasty Nerd shirt, which is legit the most comfortable shirt I ever wore.
They are so soft.
I just tweet out there, like, dude, sometimes people go on shows and they say things and they don't mean them. Not us. We mean everything we say. Yeah, good stuff. So we're back here talking Dynasty Fantasy Football. We're 2 weeks through the preseason. We got one game left, and we have a little hiatus week there, and then we're actually going to be playing real football, which is super exciting.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know things are getting real. I
Sweet.
got to do my first redraft television show tomorrow.
Wow.
Oh, can't wait. Talking sleepers.
Which is really it. It's probably an easier transition for you.
Yeah.
In a lot of those, because a lot of those dynasty people that the young guys that nobody knows about in the regular fantasy world are just they're old hat for us.
Oh, for sure. Like I'm gonna say, you have to draft Amon-Ra St. Brown, and they're gonna be like, who? Like
Exactly.
is that a cheer that you just did? Like what's going on? Rah who? I'm like yeah, St. Brown. So of course with the preseason games, there's some news, some good, some not so good.
Yeah.
Let's start off with the not so good. Travis Etienne, who was my number 2 overall running back, was your number 3 overall rookie running back, is now out for the year with a Lisfranc injury, which is he tore the ligament a little bit, which is right in the middle of your foot. That is never a good injury for a running back because you missed the entire year. Right. Here he is, never played a snap in week 1, and he's out for the year, which now if you own James Robinson, I mean, dude, you're feeling tickly all over, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Lisfranc injury, it requires surgery, correct?
Yes.
To repair the ligament. That's a bummer, man. So that's a totally lost season, and obviously James Robinson is the major benefactor here. Anybody else that you see as like a guy that's going to pull up?
I wouldn't be surprised if they brought a pass catcher running back in, like the offset. Maybe like Duke Johnson's the first running back that comes to mind. So if he's under waiver wire, maybe swoop him up just in case. A running back to help James Robinson obviously showed last year he could do it through the season. There's still guys out there like Todd Gurley, Le'Veon Bell, some veterans that might be able to come in and help out as well.
I feel like they have their veteran though. I mean, they have Carlos Hyde. He's not like a pass catching.
Did you see him in a preseason game?
He's older than than dirt. And he runs like like he's going through molasses.
The whole offense looked like molasses.
That was another point I wanted to make. Man,
Daryl Bevel's OC there, and
it looked rough. It looked like it's unfortunate because you want to see a young quarterback be put in situations where he's going to do well, and there was no offensive flow, there was no kind of rhythm that they were getting into offensively, and it looked like bad football. And I hope that doesn't carry over into the regular season for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But right now, it looks like they're trying to mesh a bunch of systems that maybe shouldn't be meshed. Maybe they should have just gone with one person's system and go.
Yeah, Daryl's system.
Right.
Because, you're right. Marvin Jones banged up his shoulder. Laviska Shenault was being fed. DJ Shark's still not even really out there playing.
He had finger surgery.
Yeah, so stop pointing at people and tapping them on the forehead. It's not good for you. Trevor Lawrence, if you drafted Trevor Lawrence and you thought you were going to start him week 1, That's not going to, which most quarterbacks don't. I mean, he's not Zach Wilson for sure.
He's not a Zach Wilson.
I mean, nobody's a Zach Wilson, who is my number 2 overall quarterback.
Mine as well.
Yeah. Oh, he was your number 2, right?
Yes. You keep forgetting that for some reason.
Because I just want me on this pedestal all by myself.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So are you guys doing anything with James Robinson? Are you trying to sell him?
Yeah, it's another sell window. Yeah. I mean, it's obviously another, you missed the window, now the window's back. I mean, if you think James Robinson's the future, they wouldn't have taken a running back in the first round, right? Which makes me think they're going to pick up a guy. So for me, James Robinson, albeit I'm not a true contender, but even then, like I'm floating out there to like some owners, can I get a 23 first? Can I get a 22 first?
Even if you're a contender.
James Robinson.
Even if you're a contender, you're going to do that?
It depends on my depth at running back.
He just went for a 23 first and a 2024 second in my league.
Yeah, and obviously now we have a new addition to the Dynasty GM. As we always promise at dynastynerds.com and with the Dynasty GM when you become a Nerd Herd member is we're never going to be stagnant, right? This is like Dynasty. If you're stagnant, you get passed up. For the Dynasty GM, we're always going to be updating new features and new tools to it. Now we just add the Trade Finder. You can literally put any player into the Trade Finder and look up real trades made for that player that were conducted via Sleeper and myfantasyleague.com. It's going to show you actual league trades that were done in real time in real leagues to your league score setting. So, yeah, I mean, maybe get in the Dynasty GM if you have it. See what James Robinson's going for. See if some trades have been made. Real proof in to put in. But to me, I mean, for James Robinson, like I'm legit either one trying to offset a hole in my roster or trying to get that first. And you know what? If I can't get a first right now, the way that offense looked, I'll wait till he starts producing because they're going to give him a lot of carries there in Jacksonville.
And to me, if I'm a contender, I'm going to hold on to him because it's a war of nutrition out there. Yeah. It's going to be a long season.
Eat healthy.
Eat your bananas, people. It's going to be a long season, extra game, extra fantasy week as well. Personally, I'm going to hold on to him. I think that's like a huge blessing that this just happened, and now you all of a sudden have James Robinson available, and I think as a plug and play type of option for most weeks. If you're a contender, I'm just going to hold him. Personally.
If you're a contender, which I'm 100% fine with, because even if we have 2 running backs right now, we've lost K-makers, we lost Travis Etienne. We're going to lose more. It's just
not enough nutrition out of those guys.
Not enough nutrition.
Clearly.
Like Matt said, bananas. Grains,
oats.
Yeah, Mr. Ed.
Yeah, so, don't forget the protein though as well.
Oh, gotta get that protein. Yeah. So to me, it just depends. Obviously, if you're a contender and you need them, you gotta hold on to them. I'm not saying that, but if you're anywhere else, I tweeted out the other day, like Dynasty is a huge part of the game that we never talk about is these windows that open up. They're buying windows, they're selling windows, and I said, don't let the preseason practice games ever sway you one way or another. Too far off those stances because they're just practice games and it's the worst way to play Dynasty. But what it does do, it creates windows, whether it be buying windows or selling windows. And for James Robinson owners, it does create a window again of opportunity where you can now sell a player for a first, for a guy who most likely would not be a starter running back here in 2023 or 2022.
Right. And that window slammed shut on draft night. You know what I mean? Like the first night of draft night, that window slammed shut and now it's open again. Take advantage, I guess, is the moral of the story.
You got to do it. If somebody's not willing to trade for a first, maybe there's a rookie. Maybe you could trade him for Travis Etienne.
Yeah. I mean, I like the idea, hey, if you had James Robinson out of your plans already, you're a contender, you got a hole in another spot, I would say make that move, you know what I mean? Because he is the short-term answer. So let me amend my previous statement about not trading him at all if you're a contender. But if you can fill a hole and make your team better by trading him, obviously.
And I'm only today selling him either for a first or for a younger player that fills a hole of need.
Yep. So some trades that have gone down. There's a ton of trades as of today with James Robinson.
I'm sure
people are taking advantage of that window. James Robinson for DJ Moore.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy. Those are again, these are real trades in real leagues. These are not made up.
And this is the window opening again. You know what I mean?
James Robinson for Mike Davis and Mike Williams.
Okay.
That's pretty balanced.
I can live with that.
Yeah, I feel like
you're offsetting a running back and you're getting Mike Williams, and we know how we feel about Mike Williams. Valentine's Day.
Robinson and Michael Pittman for a 23 first, 2022 fourth, and Rashad Bateman.
Oh, wow. Another sex. Look at what you could be doing right now. And these are the kind of, again, these are certain leagues. It's not going to work in every league. It's hard to talk in vacuums here.
Right.
But these are the kind of moves you can make them now, today. If you can't do it, wait till later. These opportunities will open back up because people are going to get thirstier and thirstier for that running back help.
There's just going to be more injuries. So, yeah, I mean, it's gonna be either, if he stays healthy, he's just going to keep getting pushed up the list a bit. So, yeah, it's a really good point.
Are you guys worried at all long-term health with Etienne? This is something Darren McFadden dealt with his whole career, Liz Frank injuries. It's something that can linger, so...
It does. I mean, obviously, you hear the...
he didn't break the bone, at least.
I was going to say, you hear the Jones fractures a lot of the time, and it's a reoccurring thing. I haven't heard the ligaments be an ongoing issue, so I don't really know. I mean,
I feel better because he didn't break the bone,
right?
And it's more of a ligament. It seems like it's easier for that to heal correctly.
But I'm no doctor, so I honestly don't know which one's
a nurse.
Which one's worse?
So yeah, don't ask me. We have plenty of people on staff and on Twitter that know. I mean, I just retweeted one of our guys, Vic. I think it was. I can't remember now who it was. That he's literally a doctor, and I retweeted. He talked all about the Liz Frank. So check him out there on Twitter. Speaking of no overreaction to preseason, we got to talk about the New Orleans Saints.
Okay.
Two things here. One, Jameis Winston looks like he's locked and loaded. Remember, we were talking on the show. Like, I think Jameis would be the guy.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
How did he look on Thursday?
He looked great. The offense looked night and day. I feel like I watched most of that first half when they were both in. You know what I mean? And it looked so much better with Jameis Winston. And I just hope he can sustain that because he was playing very mistake-free football. And if that's the Jameis we're going to get, he's a far more he's a much more talented quarterback as far as throwing the football. And I feel like Sean Payton can do much more things with him than at quarterback than Taysom Hill, who is a gadget player more or less. So
yeah, I saw Benjamin Albright put a good tweet out. He's like, if the Saints are a Ferrari, Taysom Hill's the brakes. And I'm like, that's so great. It's really good.
That is a really good point, and it just looked smoother. It looked like a professional football team. They always look like they're fighting it a little bit with Taysom Hill at quarterback, if you know what I mean. Like on offense, they're just kind of fighting his ineptitude.
Yeah, not even a good fight either. Kind of like that, like slapping fight. Like the ones you're not really interested in. This isn't even a real fight. They're slapping each other. That's my baby brother.
That's funny you bring that up.
Yeah.
After this weekend, wasn't somebody talking about that?
Juan
was. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
Let's
I don't remember that.
Yep.
Remind me after the show.
I will.
So with Jameis Winston looking good, we got to talk about Marquez Callaway, wide receiver for New Orleans Saints, because Jameis had made 2 perfect passes to him in the end zone, and Callaway.
Jameson.
Let's get loosey goosey. Jameson Winston. That's what they should have named him. And Callaway, when I said don't overreact to the preseason, is Callaway's been a nice trending player because Michael Thomas has been hurt. He's not getting along with the Saints. He's not even on the field. They have Traquan Smith, who literally hasn't done anything since UCF. I think one game, he had one decent game, and it was like his first game, and that was literally it. Callaway showed some promise last year, and so far after last week, he looked absolutely dynamic, explosive, lethal, over 100 yards receiving in the first half. And what gets me excited is not the yardage. It's not the production. It's the catches that he made.
Right.
Both of the catches he made in the end zone were absolutely highlight reel Sports Center highlight catches.
Difficult.
One-handed. The second was one-handed.
Guys in very good coverage, and they were contested catch type of situations. Not, in traffic type of things that they're just not easy to maintain your focus with 2 guys kind of draped around you, or the other one was just over his shoulder type of thing, one-handed catch with a guy grabbing his right arm. So it was a very nice display.
He uses his hands well to defend off the defensive back. Him stacking the receiver nicely. It's just everything he did. He looked really good to it, which makes you think.
And that was against Shaquem Griffin or Shaquille, whichever one, the guy that used to play in Seattle and came over.
Yeah, I think it's Shaquille. But
it's one of them. They're brothers.
Yeah, one of the twins. I don't remember which one.
So to me, Marquez Callaway, I've seen some people say, I saw some guy today, he sold him and I think somebody else for 2 seconds and 23 hours. That's a fair trade. But for me, you got some trades for us on Marquez?
Yeah,
I got to hear these. So these are the up-to-date trades on Marquez Callaway as of 9:00 p.m. on a Tuesday night, August 24th.
These are all from the 23rd.
24 hours later after the catches.
Marquez, Callaway for Tyler Lockett, straight up.
Wow.
Okay.
Marquez, Callaway for Brian Edwards, a 24 third and a 2022 third.
Wow.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Swift for Marquez, Callaway, and Etienne. That was from the 22nd, so I think that's before the news broke about it. Yeah.
Wow.
He's sad. But, I mean, at least he got Callaway, which offsets the sadness.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple in here for second, straight up for Callaway.
So. Yeah, that Tyler Lockett trade
is this
really
a sell
lopsided.
window for an undrafted guy that's flashed in the preseason?
I know Izzy Alkafis from Dynasty Trade Calculators, I'm in a league with him, and he said he used this window to sell Marcus Callaway because he doesn't like insulated players. And he wants to trade away guys like that have these games for good production. And he's happy for a 23-second. I'm the complete opposite, me personally, where I don't value that second-round pick as much as most of the Dynasty community does. Seconds don't really move the needle for me. I take seconds for players I literally have no hope for, no long-term hope. And what Callaway showed me last night is he offers upside. Mm-hmm. He offers wide receiver 2 upside. I mean, obviously he plays last night. It's wide receiver 1 upside, but that's not realistic either, probably.
If Jameis ends up being the quarterback, and I think he is going to for this year, this is the kind of guy that he likes to throw the ball up to people. That's what he did in Tampa Bay, and he trusts his wide receivers to make plays. And if he's out there making plays, it's a glove in hand type of fit. You know what I mean? For the quarterback there. So I don't think he's going to be a flash in the pan type of guy. He showed good things last year when he had a chance his rookie season, but then he also, I think it was an ankle injury as well. That kind of derailed him last year. So it's not like a flash in the pan. He's never shown anything at the NFL level. This is just kind of building on what was kind of a surprising rookie season from an undrafted free agent last year.
Yeah, and so when I say I'm holding on to him, I'm 100% throwing his name out there immediately today. I'm throwing his name out, hey guys, just let you know Marquez Callaway is available, because that's the due diligence you have to do as a Dynasty owner, because you might get Tyler Lockett for Marquez Callaway, and you got to make that move 1 million times out of 1 million. But at the same time, these are kind of players that can alter your franchise, right? Guys you literally picked up off the waiver wire now that you can start. Say Marquez Callaway turns into a wide receiver 3. Well, this wide receiver 3 was free.
Yep.
And put that in Dr. Seuss book, because that's fantastic. Because again, these are a guy you can start on a week in, week out basis if he turns into something. If he turns into a wide receiver 2, albeit it could be wide receiver 24. That is Dynasty gold. You literally were walking down the street and found the nugget of gold, and now you're set, right? You're set for your Dynasty roster. So why? I know a second sounds really nice for a player that you got for free.
Right, it does.
But the draft pick capital does not move the needle. Now all of a sudden I have 2 seconds, which might help me move to the first, but you don't see a lot of those trades where, hey, I'll give you 2 seconds, my 2-8 and 2-7 for 11-11. People are like, nah.
11-11, 1-11.
1-11. I'm going to keep 1-11. So those are even harder trades to move. It sounds good on.
It sounds good in theory, but yeah, it is very difficult to make that move.
So to me, unless I can get a player of significant value, I feel like, this is just really good value, where even if Callaway hits, I'm okay with it because I got equal value here in return, a la Tyler Lockett. Or if you're a big Brian Edwards fan and somebody's offering you a 23 third, okay, I'm okay with that too, because I think Brian Edwards should be the number 1 in Las Vegas.
Right.
Here's one I really like is Callaway, 24 second, 23 first for DeAndre Hopkins.
Wow.
Okay.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, you're giving up a 23 first and a free agent pickup for a top 5 fantasy receiver.
Yeah.
We're about to talk about here in 5 minutes. So I like Callaway. Obviously, you can't buy Callaway right now because he's going for DeAndre Hopkins and Tyler Lockett.
It's bonkers. It's bonkers.
I saw Ray Garvin put out a tweet Jamar Chase or Marquez Callaway. I know it was in jest and he's being facetious. I had somebody actually text me hey, is that Ray guy serious about this? I'm like, no, he's not. But I'm glad you have the mindset to think he is. So for me, I'm holding Marquez Callaway unless I get a crazy trade offer. It's got to be something I either really like or the upside. After seeing what I saw yesterday, the upside's too high for me just to pass out on him.
What you should do is put the highlights out in your group chat, hype them up, and then be like, actually, I might want to trade this guy, guys.
I might want to. I mean, if someone offers me a first-round pick for him, he's out the door.
Right.
That's a game-changing player.
It is. Yep.
But unless that, there's no seconds and thirds coming involved for me. I'd rather ride them out. So speaking of receivers,
okay,
let's talk about who we think will be top 12 fantasy football receivers for the 2021 season. Now, to be a wide receiver one, there's only 12 of them, and we have our predictions in order of how they will finish this year. Matt, do you want to go first, or would you like to be a gentleman and let me go first?
No, I'm going to go first. Davante Adams, number 1.
Same.
Slam dunk. Number 2, Tyreek Hill.
Same.
Slam dunk. Number 3, Calvin Ridley.
Not the same.
Yeah. Number 4, Justin Jefferson.
Not the same.
Number 5, Stefon Diggs. Number 6, DeAndre Hopkins. We're going to have a lot of the same names. 7, DK Metcalf. 8, Mike Evans. 9, AJ Brown. 10, Ceedee Lamb. 11, Keenan Allen, because I just won't stop apparently. And number 12, Amari Cooper.
Okay. All right. So here are my top 12. We're pretty close. Now, here are the people I have that just missed, or some of your guys. I have just missed my top 12. We're DK Metcalf.
Okay.
Amari Cooper.
Okay.
DJ Moore.
Okay.
Mike Evans and Odell Beckham Jr. Those are my guys that just missed. So I'd have those guys anywhere from 13 to 17, essentially.
Gotcha. Yep.
Or 18. Here are my top 12 in order of how they will finish. Not how I think they will finish, but how they will finish.
How they definitely will finish.
And there's only one I'm not really overly confident about.
Okay.
It's going to be a surprise. Number 1, Davante Adams. Number 2, Tyreek Hill. So we're locked in as the top 2. Number 3, I have Stefon Diggs. Number 4, I have Calvin Ridley. Number 5, DeAndre Hopkins. Number 6, Keenan Allen. Number 7, Justin Jefferson. Number 8, A.J. Brown. Number 9, Terry McLaurin. Number 10, Ceedee Lamb. Number 11, Allen Robinson. And number 12, Robert Woods. So we're not too far off.
Allen Robinson and Robert Woods were my next guys up, by the way.
Yeah, so guys that were right there. And we'll talk about both these guys
Terry
here.
McLaurin's not far behind him as well. So.
He's in your just miss. So, again, we're talking tiers. It could be the difference of being a wide receiver 2 and a wide receiver 3, which was literally 0.3 points between Stefon Diggs and Tyreek Hill. And let's start there at the top. My top 3 of being Davante Adams and Tyreek Hill, obviously we're the same there. So there's not a lot to talk about. Davante Adams, obviously wide receiver 1, will be wide receiver 1 again this year. I mean, this guy averaged 7.5 catches for 92 yards and almost a touchdown. I mean, his average points per game were 25.6.
25.6.
Which were 4 points better per game than number 2 overall wide receiver in Tyreek Hill at 21.9 points per game. Now, Adams is the wide receiver 1 overall. And the big thing here is it's why we like these running backs, number 1 overall, that are pass catching and running back, running through the tackles, running backs, because they dominate the touches.
Right.
That's exactly what Adams does. He's wide receiver 1 overall because he dominates the receptions and targets on a team that has one of the MVP season quarterbacks on their roster. I mean, no team saw more targets than Adams, and he accounted for over slightly half of those teams' targets last year. So he's a slam dunk, easy choice for wide receiver 1. Tyreek Hill, the number 2 fantasy receiver last year in PPR, despite even missing a game out there, I mean, this is a guy who consistently finishes pretty high. In 2018, he was number 3 overall. In 2019, only played in 12 games, but he was number 10 on a per-game average when it came to the receptions. So Tyreek, is only 27 years old. From a dynasty aspect of these two guys, are they still tier 1 for you? Both of them.
I think they still have to be considered that, but you have to see that the end is near. So they're dropping in the tier, and it's not because their production is dropping. It's because they're getting to that. I mean, they're 27, 28 for Adams.
Yep.
So it's one of these things where you see like a 3-year window. If you're not going to be contending in that 3-year window, it's starting to get time to move on from these. They're not like the first guy you pick anymore. You know what I mean? They're not a foundation piece. They're like, you have to be a bona fide contender to have these guys on your team. Otherwise, you should be cashing out at the top of the market.
Okay. So we're both in on these guys. I feel the same with you too. If you're not a contender, these are clear sells for heaps and heaps of cash. Your number 3 again receiver was Calvin Ridley?
Calvin Ridley, yep.
Okay. And I had Stefon Diggs. And you had Stefon Diggs actually a couple spots down.
Just at 5, yep.
So what I'm interested is, I'd like to know why you had Diggs down a little bit, because Clearly, last year, there's a top tier of receivers, and there's 3 guys in that tier. It was Davante Adams, Tyreek Hill, and Stefon Diggs. They're both guys that had about 45 points more than the fourth overall receiver, which I believe was DeAndre Hopkins. It was DeAndre Hopkins, if I remember off the top of my head, because, it was DeAndre Hopkins. Now, Diggs...
Hopkins was 4th last year.
Yes,
yep.
But the tier 1, they were all in the 320s, right? Like 328, 329 between Hill and Diggs, and then obviously Davante Adams had still 330 something, 340 something like that, but he was wide receiver 1 overall.
Total fantasy points.
Yeah.
So Adams had 358, Hill 328, Stefon Diggs 328.
So 30 more points. Yeah, and then down to Hopkins, he was 278,
287,
287, somewhere around there. So Stefon Diggs, what do you think's changing in Buffalo for a team that, again, they took a big step forward in throwing the football a ton last year. Stefon Diggs and Cole Beasley combined for 48% of the target shares there, and they ran a lot of wide receiver sets. Cole Beasley, he's already missing the game because of COVID close contact here. Who knows what's going on with that? Emmanuel Sanders comes in. Nobody's a big threat here to Diggs.
I totally agree. I did not drop him because I thought that his situation was getting worse. I think his situation is the same. And he did lead the whole NFL in targets last year as far as wide receivers. So I don't think that's going anywhere. It was more of guys that were behind him that I see kind of an improved situation.
Which was, again, Ridley and Jefferson.
Okay. Yeah. So
you think the tier of 3 is going to go to a tier of 5?
I do. I think it's going to expand a little bit and grow, and I think those guys just have an opportunity to kind of leapfrog them as they get a larger share due to their performances last year, and in Calvin Ridley's situation, Julio Jones being completely removed from the team. So that's the only reason those guys got ahead of Stefon Diggs. It's not a knock on Stefon Diggs in the least bit, because I think he's a very talented guy. I've come full circle on him, whereas before I did, I always knew he was a special player, but he had a hard time kind of getting healthy and staying healthy and kind of playing when he's a little nicked up. Whereas in last year, he played all 16 games, looked amazing, new offense.
Happy where he is.
New Stefon Diggs, yep.
Okay. So you moved Calvin Ridley to your number 3 spot, which, again, I have no argument. I have him at number 4. I have him in that upper echelon tier. I actually have DeAndre Hopkins as upper echelon tier, who I had at number 5. But Calvin Ridley was wide receiver 5 overall last year. That was with Julio Jones. And I know when I look at the when they play together, Ridley actually did pretty good. Yeah. Without Julio Jones in there. He can score touchdowns, which we should see go up because he'd be the number 1. And then Ridley did see 26.5% of the team targets last year without Julio, and 21% with him in there. So we can just take that, move it over to the Kyle Pitts, and he should be about the same, where if he was wide receiver 5 overall last year, it shouldn't be anything crazy if he gets a touchdown uptick, which we would have to expect.
And the reason I expect that is last year he was the second most targeted wide receiver in the end zone, and he just didn't kind of cash in. They're going to keep coming his way. He's a special player, and I feel like he's going to convert more of them this year than he did last year, and that's why I gave him a bump. Not only obviously that, but also the fact that he's going to get a natural bump in overall targets. He was 7th last year. I could see him creeping all the way up, in the top 5 for sure, but he might be the top guy. Just due to the fact that they've got a rookie tight end who's a phenom. He's still a rookie though. So they're going to lean heavily, I think, on Calvin Ridley to be the guy.
And Russell Gage is a nice offset player, but he falls in the category of like a Rashard Higgins for the Browns or Daryl Hodge. You know what I mean? So nothing like overly special. And that's why I had Calvin Ridley at 4, because I couldn't get away from that top tier of the top 3 last year, because I don't see any of their situations changing. Everything looks good. So I'm just going to assume that that's where they're at. But I'm with you with, instead of bumping Diggs down, I bumped other people up into that tier. It wouldn't surprise me if Calvin Ridley finishes the number 1 overall fantasy receiver in 21. He has that kind of potential for target share and route run ability and hands. And if his touchdowns go up, that's the difference where he enters that Stefon Diggs tier.
And that's how I got that. In my mind, I was like, he could be the number 1 guy. I don't want to move him any lower than number 3. These are the reasons I'm going to get him up above Stefon. These are the reasons I'm going to get him up above my guy Jefferson even. So I mean, it was one of those things where I don't know if I'm making a point, quote unquote, by putting him there, but I think in order to make him stand out and not be at the bottom of that tier and kind of show progression in my mind to everyone else, I put him above those guys.
You're talking about Ridley still, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And again, I have no problem with it. 'Cause if I would have put Ridley here too, it's a tier thing, right?
Right,
Like
it
it's easy when you get these guys tier, and they're all top tier guys. So we both agree on Ridley. What he's going to do here? You have him at 3. I have him at 4. No differential. Now at 5, you have Justin Jefferson, and I have Justin Jefferson now at 7.
I had him at 4.
You had Justin Jefferson at 4. That's right.
And then,
You had Diggs
and
at
then
5.
5. Yep.
I actually had DeAndre Hopkins at number 5. Again, he was the king of tier 2, right? He had the most receptions last year, or not most receptions, most fantasy points in the second tier of receivers outside of those top 3. And I don't think anything's going to change. I mean, he goes out there. A lot of times, the team goes to new receiver goes to new teams. There could be some hiccups. Obviously, with Diggs last year, no. Hopkins, no. We saw a guy who had 160 targets, turned into 115 catches for 1,407 yards and 6 touchdowns. And the big thing here is he did that with an unhealthy shouldered Kyler Murray the second half of the year. They're bringing some of the weapons out here to offset him on the receiving guys. They're bringing Rondale Moore. They're bringing A.J. Green. They still have Christian Kirk the Jerk. They still have Andy Isabella, the ghost in the cellar.
I like that.
Yeah. So to me, this is somebody who saw 30% of the team's targets last year, or he had 30% of the team's receptions last year. I don't see his situation changing either. To me, when you're telling who's the pure best wide receiver in the NFL right now, DeAndre Hopkins is the name you mentioned. That's absolutely. Right now. He's not absolutely. Old right now. He is in his prime right now. So, again, a receiver that can easily finish as wide receiver 1. That's why I had him at 5, because I couldn't put Keenan Allen. And as much as I love Justin Jefferson for dynasty purposes, I love him a ton, I couldn't see him outperforming DeAndre Hopkins, only because of Irv Smith and obviously Adam Thielen, who was wide receiver 10 last year. So he had something that could kind of cannibalize him a little bit. Obviously, they had no problem with him last year. I think on a pure game basis last year, from week 3 on, he was actually wide receiver 4 overall, and only Adams, Hill, and Diggs did better than from week 4 on. So that's not the argument. It's just I'm staying with Nuke because I know for sure what I'm going to get out of him.
I totally get that. And
these are all wide receiver 1, so I love them all.
I know, that's the thing. And Justin Jefferson last year, he got to the point where he was wide receiver 6 over the full course of the season, and that was he was 16th in total targets. He was 31st in red zone targets, and he was 26th in end zone targets.
That's low.
That's really low in a lot of categories. He's got a lot of room to improve, and he was all the way up at wide receiver 6. So I allowed him a little bit of bump up. I didn't bump him crazy. I put him up at wide receiver 4. And obviously, as far as DeAndre Hopkins goes, last year he was second in overall targets. And with a guy like A.J. Brown and Rondale Moore coming on, I do think they're going to have a little bit more weapons on the team to kind of.
Green.
What did I say?
A.J. Brown.
A.J. Green. That would be even crazier.
Yeah.
A.J. Green. Sorry. And Rondale Moore on the team. I just think they're going to kind of distribute that a little bit more. And that I didn't bump him down far. I just put him at wide receiver 6, and that was my reasoning.
We're super close on most of these here. Before we go, so DeAndre Hopkins, you have him at 6. I have him at 5. Again, a receiver that could finish at top 3 easily.
Yep.
Not a big deal. Before we move on, because I say for me, that's a tier. Even though I have a receiver, I have Keenan Allen. We'll talk about him in a second here, ahead of Justin Jefferson. If I go back, I probably would flip Justin Jefferson and Keenan Allen here from 6 and 7, because I think Justin Jefferson belongs in that top tier of top 6, because that's a tier for me. Justin Jefferson, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Stefon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, and Davante Adams. And if I flip those two guys, Keenan Allen and Justin Jefferson, we have the same tier.
Sure.
So I think that's tier 1 for me in wide receivers. So before we get into tier 2, I want to talk about a couple of things here. First, we have a very great thing here to offer our listeners. We have a brand new advertising partner, and we're going to have them throughout the entire football season. And I'm super stoked about this partner because I just started using their app, and it's absolutely awesome. I'm talking about Thrive Fantasy. You want to come up and talk about prop up on, you want to come prop up the Thrive Fantasy football season for 2021. This is a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. Now, who doesn't like a good prop bet, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is what Thrive Fantasy is. With Thrive, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus on only the top tier athletes and have the biggest impact on the game. So you don't have to worry about trying to find a good value on on another one of these DFS sites, like who's going to be the small breakout players. They had the players listed out for you. You can choose 10 out of 20 available player props to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both the over and the under based on how likely it is to hit. And I know this might sound a little confusing, so you want to get on the app, you want to check it out. But whoever hits the most prop bets and racks up the most points win a share of the prize pool. Thrive has over $140,000 guaranteed in prizes for NFL Week 1 and has already awarded over $4 million in prizes. Thrive features $100,000 guaranteed contest, which is $20 to enter, and first place takes home $20,000. This is the best deal, guys. Use the promo code NERDS when you sign up today, and you're going to get 100% instant first deposit match up to $100. That's a 100% match up to $100. If you go down and download the Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or Play Store by visiting our website, thrivefantasy.com. Thrivefantasy.com. Use that promo code NERDS. Again, you're basically putting 20 prop bets in order. How do you think they're going to finish? And from there, you get points, and from there, you win cash. Use that promo code NERDS. Check it out. I just started checking it out because they're a new partner. I was like, I got to check this out. Sounds pretty interesting.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to have a ton of fun this year because, listen, I'm not a big DFS guy personally about going there because I can't find those like hidden gems. But this kind of thing.
I was going to say, you're bets guys. You like to do a little
This
prop
is
bets.
right up my alley. Check them out. Thrive Fantasy on the App Store or thrivefantasy.com. Use that promo code NERDS to get 100% matchup. I can't wait to promote these guys all year long. It's a ton of fun. And we're always looking for new ways to gamble on fantasy football. Well, here you go.
Here it is. All right, well, do you wish you could have had stock in a guy like Derrick Henry before the season? Well, now Prediction Strike makes that a real possibility. Prediction Strike is the only performance-based sports stock market where you can buy and sell shares of professional athletes as if they were stocks. Prediction Strike lets fans create portfolios of their favorite athletes so they can get even closer to the game. Don't just draft your favorite players, start investing in them. Simply go to predictionstrike.com or download the app. Right, Garrett?
He loves that app.
The app to create an account. Then deposit funds to buy, sell, and hold shares of your favorite players, just like you would in the real stocks. The value of players will change based on game performances, and you can trade your shares of players anytime as long as the player isn't currently in a game. They also just rolled out a new feature where you can join leagues and add friends to see what athletes they're buying in their stocks. So you get to kind of get in their see their portfolios before you go there and buy, and you get to see and do little mock-ups.
Insider trading,
yeah. And kind of see how your friends are performing. So go now and sign up with the promo code DYNASTY to receive $10 free with your first deposit of $20 or more. Again, that is the promo code DYNASTY.
Yeah, and you get a free $10 if you deposit 20. And I think if I had free $10, I would invest it in Corey Davis.
Marquez Callaway.
Yeah, Marquez.
$1.17.
$1.17?
Yeah.
Oh, prediction strike, gonna be rich.
I mean, Mike Williams is at $3.80 something. So
yeah, so I'm taking $1.17 on Marquez Callaway.
Absolutely.
A couple before Michael Thomas comes back out, because remember these prediction strike values are gonna go up as season starts. If he has a big 3 weeks, maybe it goes up to $2.50 or goes to Mike Williams at $3.17. You just made $2 a share, and if you get a free $10. You just made a free $20 on your $20 deposit. You're playing with house money.
Look at how your brain works.
Sorry, guys, I'm buying shares right now. I'm going to drive that price up for you before you hear this.
What's a guy like Zach Wilson doing after that performance? Is his stock going up?
I'm buying something. Hold on.
Dude,
no, check for us.
Zach Wilson looked so good in his last preseason.
$5.98.
Of course it is. It's only going to keep going up, though. Get in now while you can.
It's everything that I loved when I watched his tape. Like, I had a lot of people say, oh, you're crazy for having your number 2 quarterback. You're crazy. And
crazy like a fox.
I had him as my number 2 quarterback before the NFL draft. I had him as my number 2 quarterback.
Guess what he did in college? He got rid of the ball really quickly. He was very accurate. He was on time, and he's doing the exact same thing right now. He looks
from
amazing.
all different arm angles.
He
looks really good. Like he's going to be the real deal. Yeah. And Corey Davis is going to eat. He's going to eat, and Corey Davis is going to help some people win some championships.
Watch out for Tyler Kroft because he's coming out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere! Wait till dude, Elijah Moore just came back to practice today. Know. Would you pay today and this is going to sound ludicrous, not the rapper, the definition.
Need a lady.
Most people are going to tell you crazy on this. Would you pay a 22 first for Corey Davis right now?
A 22 first?
98% of the Dynasty community would tell you that you are a foolish human being. If this was Twitter, they would slander your name if you did.
Yeah, that's a difficult one to try to, I guess, justify.
If you're a contender and you say you have 3 solid receivers, but you have no fourth, like your fourth receiver is Cole Beasley is solid for what he did last year. I'm trying to think.
But he could retire like this. You never know. You never know.
Yeah. Say your fourth receiver, or say your fourth receiver is Michael Thomas. That was your fourth, so you feel pretty good. Somebody came to you, hey, I listened to Dynasty's podcast and said, you should buy Corey Davis for a first because you're a contender. I will give you Corey Davis for your first, which should probably be anywhere from pick 1-8 to 112. Still only like 25 years old.
He is young. He's
signed a long-term deal.
And he's getting targeted like crazy right now in this offense.
Him and Zach Wilson they have some chemistry going on right now.
They really do. Yeah, I'd do it.
Yeah, me too.
I'd do it.
You guys think he's a wide receiver too?
Yeah, floor-wise, yeah. That's even with Elijah Moore playing well. Their running game's not overly strong right now. They have Michael Carter, but that's not even defined in stone yet. So to me,
Michael Carter didn't come in until the second half of this past game.
I think if you're a contender, even a middle of the road team that is almost there, this is a great investment. You're getting a young wide receiver that offers wide receiver 2 upside on a team as a number 1 receiver that just drafted a quarterback for long term, signed a receiver to a 4-year deal. So there's this relationship here. And offset a really good receiver who does something completely different than he does in Elijah Moore.
There's definitely room for both. Yep.
Everybody would say you're a fool, but what looks like an overpay today is an underpay tomorrow. And sign me up for Corey Davis. I am paying a late 22 first for Corey Davis, and you should too if you're a contender.
So some trades that have gone down.
For Corey?
Yeah, Corey Davis. 2022 second for Corey Davis. Went down
robbery.
Yesterday.
Yep.
Assault.
Brandon Cooks.
Call the police.
Corey Davis. Zach Moss for Corey Davis in a 2022 third. So
you might even give up a 22 Look at this.
He's pretty undervalued right now.
Now, those as of yesterday?
What's his prediction strike value?
What's his value at?
I bet you that's a good one.
That just goes to show you right now, those are recent trades of Corey Davis. Now, that might have slightly changed because the narrative is out there on Twitter like, hey, he's a target hog. He might,
Right. $1.14.
$1.14. That is a steal. Oh.
Dude. Corey Davis is right now, we talked about buying Windows. Mm-hmm. Even if the price has gone up, where some people think, this is the thing, if you gave a late first for Corey Davis, people are thinking they're ripping you off. I say, hey, Shanae.
Whoa.
You're not having my baby. I just ripped you off. What do you say about that? You just picked my pocket. I just robbed your house.
What is Shanae from?
Martin.
Okay, I couldn't remember. Thank you.
He was Shanae.
That's right.
Yes. Hey, Martin.
I forgot about
his
that.
girlfriend Gina was like, oh, Shanae. He was always like in her face, like, I'm Shanae. I want to have your baby. Oh, it was great. What a great show Martin was.
It was.
Corey Davis, tremendous value. I'd pay a late first. You pay a late first, so I am locked in. Jared, would you pay a late first for Corey Davis if you're a contender?
I wouldn't start there, obviously, based on the value that we're seeing
There's no
in our
need
tool.
Yeah.
So
can you give
if I'm a contender, I pay a
couple
2022
seconds
first.
Yeah, I have no problem with that whatsoever.
I rarely have a problem giving any seconds away.
Yeah. If you're in a league with me, please send me offers for Corey Davis, and it got to be too late. This is the problem when you do a podcast.
It is.
Every league I'm in,
Yep.
I don't ever get sneaky value.
No.
And anytime I leave a show and I put offers out on Tuesday night,
no one
these
ever
leagues were long enough.
Yep.
They know, like, oh, Rich must have thought it was player in the pocket. Let me see what he has to say first.
Dude, he's only 25. They
Top
just
10
signed
pick.
him for a nice
Yep.
contract.
First
He's
round
paired
pedigree.
up with a really good looking right now rookie quarterback.
Yeah. And he throws the ball well too.
Yeah, it's
But Zach
really
Wilson,
good looking.
Zach Wilson was the very opposite of what Trevor Lawrence looked like. You know what I mean? Like Zach Wilson, he looked like he knew what he was doing in the offense. The offense had good rhythm. They were getting rid of the ball quickly. All those things are
Bold
amazing.
prediction.
Oh gosh, here we
Bold
go.
prediction.
Couldn't hold it in.
Zach Wilson has more fantasy points in 2021 than Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, and Mac Jones.
I agree with that.
Combined.
Combined.
Suck it, Simps.
Combined.
No, but he's going to be the top scorer in fantasy quarterback.
I agree with that. Justin
That's
Fields.
not that bold then.
Justin Fields, I think he's going to struggle to get on the field early. I feel like he's kind of coming along a little bit slower than everyone would like there in Chicago. And obviously same thing with Trey Lance. I think both those guys just need a little bit of time for seasoning. Mac Jones might not even win that game or win that job out the gate.
A lot closer with Cam Newton out there French kissing COVID patients.
Is that what happened?
That's the rumor I'm starting.
Is that what the rumor you're bringing up? All right, yeah.
Tell your friends.
I could totally see it in the Jags.
Where'd you hear that? Dude, super big podcast.
Super big podcast.
Yeah, heard by tens of thousands. You didn't hear that rumor? Should.
All right.
Start listening. It's called Dynasty Podcast. Oh, no lawsuit? No. Allegedly. I heard it from my mailman. Not him. Let's go back to, now, we like Corey Davis.
Yes.
We like Zach Wilson. Mm-hmm. We like Marquez Callaway.
Yes.
We gave you tier 1. Let's talk a little bit about tier 2. I obviously just flip-flop right here on the ball. I was on the ball today. Price fine. Keenan Allen with Justin Jefferson. So Keenan Allen, who was 7th overall last year in points per game, with 17.5 per game, but finished the season at wide receiver 13. We expect this offense to throw the ball a little bit more this year in Los Angeles. Justin Herbert entering year 2. Where'd you have Keenan Allen?
11.
So I'm 7, you're 11. This show's not open 24 hours today, but we both have them as wide receiver 1s, which is still an optimistic, because I think the next guys we could all admit are like tier 2 receivers.
They are, and it's one of those things where Keenan Allen, obviously, I feel like we've felt like he's old forever, and he's
only 28.
We always feel like he's gonna get surpassed by Mike Williams, and
which he's not, because he's too good of a route runner and has too good of hands.
He never does. So, I mean, I couldn't drop him out of the top 12 altogether. I didn't think that he is quite good enough to justify putting him ahead of DK Metcalf, Mike Evans, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb.
And you had DK Metcalf in your top 12, right?
I did, yeah. DK Metcalf way up at number 7. I think he's going to continue.
Where I have Keenan Allen, you have DK Metcalf.
We have those guys.
I had DK Metcalf out of it, and it's my hater. But it's just like the one thing I would say is I could imagine if I had to switch two, it'd be CeeDee Lamb and DK Metcalf. That would be the two. It's just I like Tyler Lockett a lot.
I like Tyler Lockett a lot.
Gerald Everett a little bit more. I think Chris Carson coming back helps a little bit. And I want to see it one more year from DK Metcalf for me to solidify him as a true wide receiver 1. That's just for me. I just want to see it one more. He's shown enough.
I was just saying, I feel like I'm kind of.
He's shown enough.
He went from a guy that was a one trick.
12, Matt.
He was a one-trick pony.
Yes.
In college.
And now he's a stag.
To a guy that he is a stag. That's a good way to. He's a stag that can run routes all of a sudden. He can actually run a route now, and his movement skills are much better than they were in college. That was the knock on him that I had coming out, that he only did the one thing. He was good at it. He was big and he was fast and he went downfield and he made catches. But now he's more than that. So I feel like he belongs here in this conversation of guys that are in this middle portion of wide receiver.
He does. And I will take all the criticism for not having him in here. It's just, again, to me, what are you going to argue? Oh, well, Rich, you didn't have him in your top 12. Okay, well, I have Keenan Allen in my top 12. I have Justin Jefferson.
There's only 12 spots.
Yeah, I have AJ Brown there. I guess you would argue Terry McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, and Robert Woods. I guess because Allen Robinson, I'm not going to listen to any of the Allen Robinson hate at all. You don't have him in your top 12, which kind of blows my mind.
He's at 13.
Yeah, but still, this is a guy who finished number 9 last year and number 8 in 2019 with absolute average at best quarterback play. So you're bringing in Andy Dalton, who's average at best quarterback play, and then possibly Justin Fields, who can get the ball downfield probably better than anybody else. And he still finishes wide receiver number 9 and number 8. They have Darnell Mooney. They shipped off Anthony Miller. They have no other really receiver help. So he kind of falls in that Davante Adams category of a target hog receiver. So to me, Allen Robinson's not the best receiver in the league, but for fantasy football, he's there. He's coming off back-to-back top 9 finishes. And to me, movement at 11 is almost oh, okay. And he's had terrible quarterback play. So that's not even an excuse for me. So to me, Robert Woods, CeeDee Lamb, and Terry McLaurin are my arguments against DK Metcalf. I would have DK Metcalf right around wide receiver 13. So where you have Allen Robinson, I'd have DK Metcalf. I don't think these guys my guys, the reason I said it, the guys that just missed, because if any of them finished in the top 12, I'm not taking it back.
Like Mike Williams was the guy that you said that just missed. That kind of struck me. Like
Mike Williams,
didn't you? Or Mike Evans. Sorry,
Mike Evans. Yeah, he's just a receiver coming off. He's literally at 1,000 yards every single year of his season. I still think they're going to throw that ball an absolute ton there in Tampa Bay. I know he's got Antonio Brown. I know he's got.
But he's the guy that made my top 12.
Yeah,
that didn't make yours, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's my point.
So we're on Robin Strikes Me is what you're trying to say.
Exactly. Okay. Yeah, Mike Evans kind of.
I thought I was trying to make a case for him.
No. Mike Evans does like the same thing that Allen Robinson does for you. I can't believe Mike Evans. Gosh, Mike Williams is on my brain here. Mike Evans is out of your list.
Wide receiver one.
Yeah, I mean. I wanted Mike Williams in this show so bad that I've just been like inserting him in different places, even though he's not on my list.
Whenever you're retired, you should join our show.
That would be amazing.
no Dynasty shows talk more about Mike Williams in the history of Dynasty fans football than us. But no, and I get it. But like, listen, and same thing about DK Metcalf. Like, you had Amari Cooper in, I had Ceedee Lamb in, which is crazy because when they played weeks 1 through 5 with Dak, Amari Cooper is wide receiver 8. Lamb was wide receiver 11.
I have them both in, by the way. They're both in my first round.
They did?
Yeah.
And Cooper out-targeted Lamb by 23%. So to me, that was like, oh, should I have Amari? Like,
I had Ceedee in, and I was like, I can't not have Amari in because I'm using the same reasoning for having Ceedee in that I would.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I had to put them both in, and there's historically there's been plenty of teams that have had two people in this top 12. Last year it was, maybe not last year.
Yeah, it was Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson, 6 and 10.
Yeah.
I agree. I think we had 2 receivers a year previously to that too.
Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, I think, were the year before.
And again, not having DK in, not having Amari in, not having DJ Moore. I guess the top half would be Amari Cooper, DK Metcalf, Mike Evans. And then I still really like OBJ and DJ Moore. Those are my guys that they finished wide receiver ones that would be taking it back. But DK Metcalf,
those
Amari
guys,
Cooper,
by the way, would both surprise me.
They would surprise you?
Yeah.
Okay. DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans. Those 3, I could supplant easily. Like if I took out Robert Woods, I took out Terry McLaurin, and I took out Ceedee Lamb. Like I'd be okay with any of those guys. So when I say they're not my top 12, they're in the same tier. Pretty much for me.
Absolutely.
We'll go back to the top before we get out of place here because we talked about. Let's start off with since we're on that subject right now, the Dallas wide receivers. You have them both as wide receiver 1s, which we saw last year with Dak. They were both wide receiver 1s, 8 and a number 11. Mm-hmm. So you expect that to continue into 2021 season if Dak stays healthy for them to both finish as elite wide receiver 1s.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you mentioned most of my good points that I had. It was week 1 through 5. Ceedee Lamb, he averaged a little over 17 points, 17.12, and Amari was averaging 17.84 while Dak was in the game. Obviously, who knows if he would have kept on that, crazy pace that he was on. He was not going to actually pass for 7,000 yards, even though that's what we always say. Maybe. And he might have a little bit of a slower start to this year, but I still think there's enough passing volume and enough targets for those 2 players in particular to get into this top tier here, this wide receiver 1 territory.
I felt dirty not getting Amari Cooper in there because he just proves in year in and year out he can't produce. It's just I expect Terry McLaurin to take a big step forward. I took Ceedee over Amari. It's just because I think Ceedee Lamb's going to score more touchdowns. Like I think he's where Amari's a really elite route runner that can get open, have a lot of catches and produce. I think Ceedee Lamb's about to enter that DeAndre Hopkins. He's my future DeAndre Hopkins, Ceedee Lamb.
And that's why I put him in, and I also felt dirty not putting in Amari, so I put Amari in, and I used the same reasoning like I had already mentioned. Yeah,
I mean, and then Terry McLaurin, I mean, he's somebody that is just over these last couple of years, in his first 2 years in the league, has just really looked like a nice receiver. I know last year he was wide receiver, I think, 20 overall last year, so he wasn't even like a high-end wide receiver too. It's just with the addition of Ryan Fitzpatrick, him coming into year 3, which again, his rookie year, 58 receptions, 919 yards, 7 touchdowns. He only saw 93 targets. Last year, 87 receptions, 1,118 yards, 4 touchdowns, 134 targets, where I look for a target increase with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And what more so, a more accurate deep ball thrower. We've already seen in preseason, they've been trying to get the ball downfield to him a little bit more. So what I expect from Terry McLaurin is some more of those big time receptions and his touchdown to go up around that 7-8 range, which to me would get him to that borderline wide receiver 1. I have him at 9, which I guess I probably would have realistically bump him down closer to 12.
And he was a guy that I thought of, and I tried to kind of get him in there, and it just I couldn't quite justify it. He finished, I think, 9th last year in targets, but he was way down there, in the 20s as far as fantasy production. So he wasn't particularly, I guess, efficient with his targets and kind of converting those into fantasy points. And it's not because he's a bad wide receiver by any stretch, because I think he's amazing. I obviously the quarterbacks has changed, so I couldn't I guess grind that all together and get him into the top 12. But he was another player that was close. He was, I think, 15 or something for me, and that to me is edging up to that tier and progressing from
He's
last
right
year.
there.
Yeah.
He's right there for you. Instead of him just slipping out, I slipped him right in there for you.
Slipped him right in.
Right in there.
Just slipped him in.
You even know. That's it. In and out.
That's what I do. That's what I do with Amari.
Yeah. So again, it does sound crazy, and I'm on a hype train where everybody's giving Terry McLaurin wide receiver 1, and I'm just here along for the ride, right? I'm going along with it because again, DK Metcalf, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans. It's almost silly, but if he's going to be wide receiver 1, I think this is the year he's going to really step up into it. But maybe he turns into Robert Woods, where Robert Woods is just number
13, 14.
He was number 14
Yep.
in 2020. He was number 11 in 2018. He was number 14 in 2020 and 2019 back-to-back years. And to me, maybe that's a Terry McLaurin, which isn't a bad thing whatsoever. He's always flirting wide receiver 1 numbers. You had Robert Woods on the outside looking at
14th.
14, so right there too. So we're pretty close. We talk about Allen Robinson. We talk about CeeDee Lamb. A.J. Brown.
Yep.
A.J. Brown, he finishes wide receiver 12 last year, played in 14 games, but his 17.7 points per game was good for 6th best overall. He has back-to-back seasons with over 1,000 yards. He's got 19 touchdowns in his first 2 years. They just bring in Julio Jones as well. So even though you thought that this guy is going to see a ton of targets, I don't think that's really going to go down too much with Julio Jones there. Julio Jones already banged up now, hasn't really practiced since coming down awkward a couple of weeks ago. Kind of hard pressed to see Julio finish the entire year. Do you think A.J. Brown at wide receiver 8, where did you have him?
I had him at 9.
9? So we're both in the same spot.
We might be low on him. How about that?
We could be low.
He was 30th in targets last year, 106, 24th in red zone targets with only 13, and 51st in end zone targets with only 5. So this is another guy that has a lot of those same kind of, I guess, growth potential as a Justin Jefferson from who I previously mentioned. And it's not like he scored a ton of touchdowns with those numbers. You know what I mean? So he has a lot of room to grow. He's a very explosive player. He's dangerous with the ball in his hand as well. And it's not like Julio Jones has ever been one of these guys that scores a bunch of touchdowns. So he definitely can maintain the role that he has already had, but he can also get more opportunity, I feel like, in this.
I think
offense.
his biggest Achilles heel isn't Julio Jones, it's Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
And that's where it is. You get in the red zone, you're giving it to Derrick Henry. He just takes away too much from it. They were going to run the ball more than they throw the ball usually. Maybe Julio Jones changes that. So I think it's fair we have AJ Brown. Like, I love AJ Brown. I think wide receiver 8 overall, wide receiver 9 overall is elite categories. So again, when we're talking about these guys, like, oh, you had AJ Brown at 8 and you should have him at 6. It's like, dude, we're talking about a tier here and a points per game where usually it's about a point differential per game. We're just telling you our guys that we believe are wide receiver 1s. 8, 12, it's all relative for the most part.
And yeah, a lot of the times it is separated by a point or even less than a point in a lot of instances.
I just don't think AJ Brown cracks, like we gave our top 6 as a tier that we kind of agreed on. I don't think he cracks that tier this year in 2021. Maybe he does in 2022, but I feel really good about that tier we have at top 6. Like, I think that is like in a tier of itself.
I do
and
as well.
And that's probably honestly going to finish as 2 separate tiers like it did last year, where like there's a 50-point differential between Davante Adams and wide receiver 4 overall, DeAndre Hopkins.
And I agree with that. I do. I think it'll be whoever's the top dog. Who I obviously think it's Davante Adams. He'll have a probably significant leap over the next guy, and then it'll be three guys that are kind of coming in about 4 points behind him per game.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's it. That's our top prediction wide receivers for the year. Next week, I think we're doing. What are we doing next week?
Bold predictions, right?
Bold predictions next. No, that's a week before the season. Oh, ADP buys, ADP sells.
Okay.
Is next week. And then, of course, before the season starts, we're doing bold predictions. More bold predictions for me than Matt, obviously. But those are our next two shows. On the Nerd Herd episode, we're going to be doing tight ends, our top 12 tight ends. We're at finish that off for the year. If you're a Nerd Herd member, you get that show. You get the Dynasty GM. Like I mentioned, we just added the trade finder. You get a trade calculator. You get a league analyzer. Everything that you need to dominate your fantasy football season. Not only does the Dynasty Nerds help you during off season, the GM also helps you significantly in season. Helps you the most streamline your leagues. And if you want to check it out, it's absolutely free to try on DynastyNerds.com for 3 days. So all you got to do is go on there, import your sleeper IDs, import your myfantasyleague.com leagues, flea flicker. So we offer what up? FFPCs. Yep. Automatically imports all your leagues for you.
There's a manual download as well. You can always click in your own guys.
Takes you about 8 minutes manually upload your entire league into the Dynasty GM. Play around with it. Again, just how we talk about the shirts are the most comfortable shirts in the world, and then people wear them like, wow, you weren't lying. We're not lying about the Dynasty GM too. So make sure you get out there, check it out. That's why we offer for free, to show that it's for you. And remember, when you're a Nerd Herd member, not only you get the Dynasty GM, but you get all the other tools behind that too. Now that the college football season is about to start, guess who's going to have all 22 film in their Dynasty Nerds film room of all these rookies?
Somebody.
Yeah, it's going to be somebody at DynastyNerds.com. Scout the rookies, the mock draft tool on the App Store. Yeah, right now is maybe not your favorite time to mock draft, but guess what? We're importing those rookies here in the next couple of weeks, and we're going to be doing rookie mock drafts all year long. Everything you need to succeed in Dynasty Fantasy Football at DynastyNerds.com on your App Store. Check it out today. And, of course, we're on YouTube. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe, notifications button, because not only we have the podcast on there, and you can look at me, Matt, Brownie the Elf over here, and sometimes Garrett, pussyfooting around. But we have also great content from Marvin Eloquent, that goes up there all the time. We have exclusive content on there from us.
We're launching that new team audit show.
Yeah. Oh, we have a new show. Jared, do you want to tell the audience about our new show coming out on YouTube?
Yeah. So we'll be on there looking at people's teams using the Dynasty GM tool. So some people are going to be submitting their usernames. We'll be syncing their teams, looking at them, figuring out buys, sells. Are you contender? Should you enter a rebuild? What trades could you make? Yeah. So
awesome, man.
Look for that.
That sounds like a fun show.
Yeah. It's going to be on YouTube exclusively. So make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notifications button, because I think that stuff helps us too when you do that. And we're all about helping each other.
It definitely does.
We give you something to listen to while you're at the gym.
5-star reviews.
While you're driving. Oh, yeah. You know what? I haven't asked for that in a while. If you have an iPhone, get on there, leave us a 5-star review. I had another recent review. Somebody said, I hate the host. And I was like, that's fine. That's fair. That's fair. The rest of the show is good except for the host.
You're not for everybody.
Oh, I know that. I told that everybody at the expo, the Fantasy Expo. I was like, listen, man, I love this community. I know I'm not for everybody. I got a lot of bad qualities. Trust me, I hear about them all the time.
Qualities.
Wife tells me.
Yeah.
Like, that's a bad quality. I'm like, okay. You're married to me.
She's good for that, huh? A little reminder here and there.
It keeps me grounded. Yeah. She's like, oh, you think you're a big shot because you're on TV? I'm like, no, not at all. I don't like that. But she's like, you have bad qualities. I'm like, okay.
All right, bye, guys.
See ya.
All right, well, what do you think about that, Garrett? Adios.